Hey Facebook. So I don't know how many of y'all know, but the people who follow me on Instagram too know that I am finally out of Facebook jail, and I said as soon as I get out that I was gonna address my son's grievances with our family unit. If you guys haven't read what it was, just please see the post below. But I'm just going to be going over the topics, and I want to touch on everything. So if I miss anything, or something you guys have a question about, because this is my process. This is like, I've always been about healing out loud. I always share my personal things outwardly. Because like I said before, you never know who you're going to help, and I didn't get to that point until after I came out very publicly about my molestation as a child and on Facebook, and it was, oh my God, it was traumatic. It was really traumatic. But I found that after that, my healing was just so, oh my God, it was like night and day. Like I was just a different person. Like it was such a weight lifted off so fast, and I'm like, man, this really, really helps. And it just takes a lot of the pressure off, and just and that's for me personally. Everybody may not feel like that, but it helped me a lot. And I think that is my son's intentions. And I'm sorry, y'all, this is the most quiet it's gonna get because Amy's taking a nap and the roofers have started to do the roof, and like this is from last year or something, so child, we're gonna be in for too long. Anyway, I don't want to get off the subject. Anyway, I think this is what my son is trying to do. I'm hoping that he's doing it for a purge and to start a healing process. So I'm hoping. My personal opinion, it just seems like there's so much rage and so much hate that I don't know. I'm just very unsure. But I do acknowledge that sometimes healing can start off really ugly and really painful. So I'm not gonna make that a focus. I want to be able to and hopefully reach him in this way. Because like he said, I couldn't get it across privately, so let's see how it works publicly. So maybe he's trying to do it my way, which he knows about my way. And I'm all for it. I'm all for it. And like I said before, I will love my child through anything. Absolutely anything. As most parents would. So my son mentioned in his writings that was called From on the Outside Looking In or something to that nature, that that parents need to heal their trauma before becoming parents. And I can't disagree with that statement. I had a lot of trauma before having him. And that would be awesome in a perfect world with perfect people. But the thing is, people have their shit, man. That's just life. People have their shit. You're gonna have your shit that's gonna affect your children in a certain way. I have my shit. My mother had her shit. Her mother had her shit. Like, this is every single person on the planet. So I don't know a person who don't have their own shit. So I can't disagree with you. But at the same time, it's unrealistic. Most people have shit. And in this world, you just have to learn how to deal with the shit you've been dealt. And I've dealt with it in the best way that I could. And moving along to the first part of, this is part one, right? And so the first part was, my mother was physically abusive until she realized the error of her ways or something like that, and she stopped. Now, anybody who know me know that I am not abusing children, especially mine. That was the most hurtful thing that was said. That was the most hurtful thing. And I'm glad it was number one, because oh my God, it was just devastating. I'm telling you, I saw this, when I saw it, it was like 5 a.m. in the morning. I had went to the toilet and just decided to bring my phone with me. I'm like, I miss my baby. He had already blocked me from from my personal page. I'm like, let me see if he remembered to block me from my business page. And I went over there and I'm just looking through his page. I'm like, oh, I miss my baby. And I see these writings and I'm like, what is this? So at first it was total shock, because some of it I had never heard before, like ever in all of his 20 years. Like, he had never expressed any of this to me before. So I'm not negating his feelings. I'm just saying I've never heard them before. So it could be something that he just felt like he couldn't share and he just holding it in, or it could be just it could just be him just wanting to get his way. I'm not completely sure. That's the process that has to be maneuvered through, because I'm his mother. I know him very well. So, and he thinks that I don't, but I do. So anyway, I found out 5 a.m. in the morning, and I'm just total shock. And then sadness, like just so much sadness, because I felt the rage, and I'm just like, oh my God, my baby feels like this. How is it that he feels like this? I don't understand. I've done everything. Like, I've done absolutely everything I could do as a mother. Nick's been a great stepfather to him since he was 6. His father's home, doing great. Like, what is wrong? So I initially just texted him like, baby, like, I'm so sorry you're going through this. And I was just really, really sad, just really sad. And at this point, tears didn't come yet, but I'm just overwhelmed with sadness. I didn't really know, like, oh my God, it was shock and sadness. And then it was like anger. And this is my thing. You have to be totally honest and truthful when you're doing things. And when you're searching for healing, you can't pussyfoot around the truth. You can't leave details out. You just have to be as open and as raw as possible. And I just want to put this out there, that my son's emotional state is my priority. But that doesn't negate the fact that partially, after processing the things that I read, I feel a deep need to defend my family unit. Like, I feel like, what? Like, this can't be the same family that we're in. Like, it's, and it probably shouldn't be, because my perception is different from his. So I don't deny the way he's perceiving things, but it has to be based in truth when you're wanting to heal. Because if you keep telling yourself something over and over, whether it's true or not, you're conditioning yourself, and that becomes your truth, if that makes sense. So you have to operate in facts, and you have to operate in truth. So when you don't, your perception is warped. And I think that some of his perception of things is warped, because it's not based in fact and it's not based in truth. Now back to the abuse thing. My son got spankings like millions of other children everywhere around the earth get spankings when they do something wrong. When he was a child, when Navaj was 8 years old, we sat down and decided, after we had a long talk, we decided, him and I, that I was able to talk to him without spanking him, and that he was totally capable of listening without me yelling and without me hitting him. So he has not had a spanking since he was 8. That is not, I've never abused him. He just never had a spanking until, he hasn't had a spanking since he was 8. And we decided that because of that conversation that we had. My son has never been bruised, beaten. I mean, he's never been. And y'all, I'm laughing, but that's just it's so painful for your child to say something like that. And I don't know, maybe he just wants to hurt me because he feels hurt, and I guess that's normal to a certain extent. When you're not emotionally mature, you feel like, I'm hurt, so just let me hurt them back, instead of just dealing and trying to heal yourself, you know. And instead of concentrating on the healing of yourself, you just want to inflict the same type of hurt on the person you're upset with. But yeah, but to tell you the truth, he did this once before in, like, I want to say 5th or 6th grade, where he just was just acting out. Now, I don't deny the fact that my child may have some trauma, because his father went to jail when he was only 5. Was he 5? 5.5, maybe 5.5. And I know that it just devastated his world. He was old enough to understand that his dad was not coming home for a long time, and the visitation and just the distance, and him and his dad were like this. So I can imagine just the devastation and the trauma that happened when his dad went away. So just that trauma alone could just warp the mind of how you see the world, because now you can't, it's so easy to create enemies in your head. Man, that's tough, you know. But I always try to explain to my son that things sometimes happen because they're supposed to happen that way. Like, my dad wasn't in jail, but I didn't see my dad for months and months. Sometimes a year could pass and I wouldn't see him. He was very part-time-ish in my life, you know, but he had his own crap, and I didn't understand this till I was older. I really didn't. So I'm not saying that he should understand that right now. He still has to process some things, and he still has to live a little bit longer and understand some things if he's open to it. But he has to become open to it first to understand that, you know, other people's decisions with their life can affect you, and it can affect you negatively. But it's not your burden. It's your dad going to jail for all those years is really not your burden, baby. And it's going to take some time for him, if he really wants to heal, to understand that. And I've explained this to him so many times. Your dad did not deserve that. He knows the situation behind how his dad got in that position. He knows. I explained that to him, and his dad really shouldn't have been sentenced that way. It was really unfair, and the officer who did what he did to his dad went to jail the very next year. So it's not that his dad was just in the streets and couldn't. Now, his dad wasn't an angel. He did his thing, but what he went to jail for, he should not have. And it was a whole mess with that, and that was a long time ago. But he also knows that his dad, I mean, for somebody to be incarcerated and still never miss a birthday, never miss a Christmas, always calling his family to round up money to make sure his son had for his birthday and Christmases, always calling, how's he doing in school, talking to me about, you know, always just so involved. I mean, all those years he had never skipped a beat. Never. Like, he just wanted his son to be okay. Junior, what you doing? Where's Junior? I mean, and I ain't put no money on the books. He had to find it from somewhere. I mean, after the first 2 years when I was with Nick, maybe I would still put money in the books, but after a while, you know, he figured that out on his own. And this man never missed a beat. Never missed a beat. I mean, he tried to show his son he loved him no matter where he was. He You have daddies out here who don't even do that, and they ain't even locked up. And then you have a stepfather who chose you, because when he chose me, he chose you. That's the type of mother I am. You can't choose. He said something about, I think he was just here for my mother. You can't choose me and not choose my child, because that's just not how I operate. So when he was in 5th grade, I always get off the subject because my mind just go all over. Y'all gotta excuse me. But anyway, when he was in 5th grade, he was going through something really crazy, and he like ran into a wall or something and just was like screaming. And the teacher was like, "What's wrong?" And he was just like, I don't know if he made it seem like he was being abused at home or something. Like he just was going through something, like in 5th or 6th grade. 5th or 6th grade or something like that. I just can't, my memory doesn't serve me right. But I mean, had child protection come to my house and all this stuff, and literally it was a black lady and a Caucasian male, and they came in our house and they looked, you know how they do, look around, ask all these questions, and they were like, yeah, he's fine. Like literally we were so confused and so like, but I get it. You have a stepfather. He can't ever be your dad. You want your dad. You don't want him to tell you nothing. You don't want him to tell you to wash dishes. You don't want, you know. And I think that was a major part too. That with Nick, he wanted all the good parts of Nick, like the fun parts, but he didn't want the discipline. You know, he wanted just he liked going to the park, and he liked being purchase things and having fun and going out to eat. He liked all that. But if Nick said, you know, clean your room, take out the trash, anything, he just didn't like it. And to give you a deeper understanding of this, my son was the first everything in our family on both sides. So he was my first child, his daddy's first child, and only children at that time. He was the first grandchild, the first nephew on both sides, the first great-grandchild on his dad's side, and just a whole bunch of women. He didn't have any uncles. He had a whole bunch of aunties, and he had his dad's male cousins, but they weren't around a lot. So he's got all this feminine energy and all this how do you say it? Everyone's just catering to it was Navaj's world, baby. It was his world. We were just squirrels trying to get enough. And he's still like that till this day. He's just, man, my son is rotten. He's spoiled rotten, and I take my part in that. And I regret it. And a lot of times when Nick tried to change things when he first started coming in, because Nick wasn't playing. Nick is a very militant dad. He's just a militant. He's like that with his own blood child. He's a militant dad. He's never treated him different. He said something about that too. I would never allow a man, anyone, to treat my children differently. I don't even treat my children differently. But his perception is that way. But what he doesn't understand is, of course, you're going to have a certain set of rules because you're 8 years older than the baby. So we're not going to treat you equally, but we're not going to, you know, treat one, oh, he can do this and that and he can't. No. And like, he had an issue saying that Nick didn't like him, and Nick was ashamed of him. But at the same time, he's saying he would bring him to the park with his loser friends. And I know, first of all, my stepdaddy never took me to no park. And I'm just like, how does this logic work that he took you to the park with his friends And you found a way to turn that into a negative thing. Oh, he was just trying to toughen me up because he was ashamed that I was soft and he thought I was soft. I don't think Nick ever thought that. I think not in the aspect I think that he's thinking, but what Nick did think is he's too spoiled. He's too dependent. When Nick came along, my son had probably just turned 6. I was still bathing him. Nick was like, you still bathe him? Like, you still cleaning his room? What does he do? I'm like, and this is how it started. One night we were coming home and Navaj had fell asleep in the car. He's 6. And I was picking him up to bring him inside. And Nick was like, no. Wake him up and make him walk in the house. So I'm like, no, look, my baby. I can't make him walk like he's sleeping. He was like, that is a boy. Put that child down and make him walk. At the time, I didn't understand it. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't. And I did fight him tooth and nail, sometimes in front of Navaj, sometimes not. But I think the way that I loved Navaj, and Navaj was still sleeping with me and on my chest a lot of the times, all the way till he was 6. He was still in my bed on my chest. Now I have this man who's here, and Navaj is in his room in his bed. And I think he, children feel like you took my mom away, That's normal. That's normal. And the fact that he's 20 and he still has these feelings lets me know that he needs some healing. He needs some healing from the trauma of his daddy leaving and possibly the trauma of losing his mom, which he never lost me, but I can see how that feels that way because I have a stepdad. My stepdad beat my mom's ass up and down the house. Beat on us. Real trauma, like real trauma. And not to say that his trauma, I'm lessening his trauma because everybody's affected differently. And Navaj didn't have those type of violent experiences. So his trauma is not going to look like mine. It's going to be different. So he always thinks that I'm minimizing his feeling, which I'm not. I'm just saying, you're, and I hate to compare, but it's like, do you realize this world and how I feel like how good he has, like, and then a couple of Nick's loser friends saw this post because a couple of them follow him from my request of them following him. And they've been involved in his life all of his life. And so they calling Nick like, man, like, what the fuck is going on? Like, oh man, like, dude, this dude tripping. Like, they were just shocked. They were just in so much shock, and like, they weren't even worried about them being called losers, because they're grown ass men. And he's 20, but he's a child to them. But they were just like, what are these things that this boy is saying like this? These guys grew up. Navaj grew up around these guys. And yes, Nick has the same friends he's had since high school, and that says a lot about a person. That says a lot about that whole group. No, they're not all rich and like, balling or whatever you call success. They have jobs. They maintain their houses. They're regular guys just like Nick. Work, come home, take care of their family. What do you want? What do you want them to be? I don't understand. But that's crazy. But for somebody to be embarrassed of you and bring you to the park to make sure you have out time, and that's Nick's thing. That's what he had to offer because he's a very athletic guy. So that's what he did with both the boys. When, even when Nika was small and Navaj wasn't as, was a little older, he would take both of them. And that's his thing. All the way up until Navaj was like 16. When he first made 16 or something like that, he stopped going to the park with them on the weekends. Like, whenever Nick was like, okay, y'all, let's go ball. Let's go to the park. And because they would go ball or play football, whatever they did out there, boy stuff. I never worried about that as long as they shot when they came home. But, he stayed with those boys out going to the park. And if somebody's embarrassed of you or don't like you, They're not trying to spend time with you. And Nick actually, when Navage stopped going, he tried to, you know, push him a few times. And even when Nick was like, I'm not trying no more, he doesn't want to go. I wake him up to get ready, and when we're ready to go, he's still sleeping. He just started to ignore Nick, you know. And so Nick stopped fighting, and at a point I stopped pushing Nick to make him get up. So that was his thing. We saw that he was growing up, and that he just grew away from that part. He just didn't want to do that part. But when they're home, when I'm telling you these, my house is never boring. We are straight up fools up in here. I mean, Navage, Nick, and Nico, I have to beg them sometimes. Sometimes I'm just like, y'all are doing too much. I mean, they clowning, wrestling. This is how it's been all of his life. So the things he's saying is like, wow, you've been keeping that balled up in your heart all this time without saying anything. And as much as we talk, we have family talks all the time, and it never came up. But I mean, I get it. I mean, that could be a thing. Maybe it was something he just didn't feel comfortable talking about, which we talk about all kinds of other stuff. I mean, so much stuff. So it was like, it was a little shocking. But these boys clown up in here. They clown, they wrestle. I mean, this almost constant. Are they watching TikTok videos? What is it? Those little clips or whatever, where all these bloopers and all this crazy stuff. I mean, up in here dying laughing. I don't laugh at stuff like that because I hate to see people get hurt. But that's their thing, you know. Nick and Navage specifically, they have a thing where they like to see people doing stupid shit and like hurt themselves, and they just die. I don't know. That's the thing, and I can't get with it. But whatever, that was their thing. And wrestling and doing challenges, strength challenges and stuff like that. But that's why I'm just, it's not for me to understand. This is his journey. You know, I've come through on the other side dealing with a lot of my shit, and as much as I want to, I guess, save my son or help him or push him or guide him, ultimately this is his, you know. And as far as me putting myself on a pedestal, probably, I can't deny that, because who the fuck else is gonna put me on a pedestal other than Nick? And at a time my son put me on a pedestal himself. I mean, I'm a damn good mom, man. I go above and beyond. I'm not just the regular, what my responsibilities are to feed, clothe, and shelter. I go above and beyond for mine, as I'm sure a lot of parents do. But hell yeah, I'm proud of myself. I'm a damn good mom. I protected my children. My children spoil. They're spoiled. But especially that first one. He still, my Navage still doesn't know how to have a little brother. And as far as me being controlling, or I'm a control freak, I can see that. Honestly, I can see that, because I understand the devastation of wasting time and losing time. I know that time don't wait for nobody, and we had already concluded that my son, he just didn't want to do traditional college. I wasn't for traditional college. He wasn't for traditional college. He wanted to do other things. And everything that my son thought he wanted to do, if he thought he wanted to do it, we've explored it. Me, him, and his dad. When he was in high school, he thought he wanted to, you know, learn, I guess, you know, he wanted to sell candy. Now, we're not just going to let you just sell candy and just waste your time. You need to be making a profit. Because what happened was he would always have snacks. So he would go to school and people would want his snacks. So he would wind up selling it to them. He's like, man, everybody wants snacks because they don't have the good stuff. So I want to get the good stuff and sell it to them. But we saw that he wasn't making a profit. He was just selling. So we know he ain't supposed to be selling candy at school, but we're cool parents. You know, we don't like, you know, I'm sure a lot of parents support their children even when what they're doing is probably just against a little rule or whatever. But Nick brought him to the hood, to the candy store, where all the hood candy where you could buy it in bulk, right? And so we try to show him, okay, so this is what you bought for the pack. This is how much you need to sell for each candy to get this type of return. Always trying to teach him a lesson. Nick is good at this stuff. So this is what he tried to implement with him. But Navaj felt like he didn't want to do that because I guess we were trying to tell him how to do it. I'm like, baby, you're not making no money. He's like, Mom, but look what I did. Look what I sold it for. I said, okay, Navaj, so tell me what you got left over from that. That's not money, honey. You're not doing it right. You can't pay retail prices for something and then sell it at the same price. And I said, if you're going to buy it at retail, you got to sell it way over that for the convenience. Because it's a convenience fee for you selling it at school because they don't have a store right where they are. No, that's too high. Ain't nobody going to buy it. I said, okay. So that's why we're telling you, when you re-up and when you purchase, when you make your profit, don't go to the regular store and pay retail prices. You think the stores pay retail prices? We're just trying to teach him that. He got upset. He don't want nobody to tell him Nathan. Instead, Nathan. So he quit doing that. Which, son, you always quit when things get tough. And that's one thing that I know. And that's why I used to stay on your ass so hard. And that's why I didn't let up no matter how old you got. Because I see that pattern in you. And you're so fucking talented, dude. Like, you're so talented. And intelligent. But I don't understand why you piss away time and ideas the way that you do. I don't get it. So I always try to steer you. Even when you want to do the hair gel. At one point he wanted to make hair gel. And I bought all the bottles and tops and lids and okay, you all the products, will you make it and we can bottle it, get you a label. And I'm just always trying to figure out a way because I knew that his life path wouldn't be traditional. So whatever sparked him, I invested my time and our money into. And so when that didn't work out, where he went to this thing, I forget what it's called, but it was this thing where with inventors, what Drew Brees was involved in back when he was in high school. And no, he didn't win the competition or whatever, but after that happened, he just kind of fell away from doing that as well. It wasn't of interest to him anymore. Then he thought he wanted to cook. We didn't really entertain the cooking that much, but he really does come up with some really interesting stuff. And some of the stuff I'm like, boy, ew. But then when I taste it, I'm like, damn, that's good. So it's like he just be hooking shit up. I don't know what he's doing, but some of the stuff is like, I will never put that in my mouth. And other stuff have been really, really good. And so right around the cooking phase, he was like, he's always been into music, always. So then he's like, okay, he wanted to do full time with his music. Man, I've always known he was musically talented. And when he said that, I'm just like, yes, son. And he let me hear some stuff, and I'm like, then he first did this one song by himself. I didn't really know he was doing it. He recorded it by his friend's house, and he was like, Mom, look, this is my song. Now I was like, my son is talking about sex. Like, it blew my mind because he was like 16, and I hadn't like digested the whole my son is mature enough for this stuff yet. So I'm like, oh, that song just is cringy. It's cringy to me. But when I got over the fact that this is a young man growing up, I had to process it. The song was actually a good song. And I'm like, he really has a niche. This may not be the hit, but he really has a niche for this. Like, he really has his own style, his own, like, he doesn't sound like nobody, act like nobody that I've ever heard, ever. So I'm like, yeah, he's got a thing. So we invested our money. Nick and I, we invested time, and I'm talking about hours of listening to music. Nick would go to bed because he worked odd hours. But I would be up in the studio with my son sometimes, to the morning. And even coming down, like, how's things coming along, baby? Whatever, checking on him or whatever. It's like, Mom, how this sound? And so, it was just a process of just being there. And then I think he said something in this thing about when I stopped hitting him, I fucked with his head in other ways, like, I guess abused him in other ways. When I tell you, my son can't ever tell you he grew up in a house where he was called stupid, a fool. Like some of these parents be calling children bitches and hoes and dumb. My son could never say he's been abused in that way. Now, when he get on my damn nerve, I might raise my voice. Like, Navaj, you really pissing me off, or I might raise my voice. Raise my voice. I'm not gonna scream on the video, but okay. But I will admit, when he was younger, I had Navaj when I was 20. And I grew up in a very abusive household. So the only thing I knew was spanking and yelling. And, but I never called him out of his name because I was called out my name. And that's just, it's the most fucked up shit for your mom to call you a bitch or call you all kind of terrible things. And so I made it a point never to do that because of how hard it hurt. But me being a young parent, that's what I knew. Yelling to make you listen and spanking to make you listen. So, I yelled a whole lot more when he was like young. All the way up to the age to maybe he was 8. Like when I stopped spanking him and we made the agreement that Mama's not going to yell and we're not going to spank anymore. And I did a 360. And if he says anything different, it ain't the truth. And, seriously did a 360 because I saw that it was affecting him in a certain kind of way. So I just changed. I couldn't hurt my baby like that no more. And I encouraged him not to do the same to his brother because I understand that those habits from him growing up with me screaming till he was 8, just not going to disappear. So he started doing it to his little brother, even though I had changed. I would always remind him, remember, you want mommy to treat you a certain way because you don't like to be yelled at and you don't want to be hit. Please don't yell at and hit your brother. And I went through this for years. And Navaj literally still treats his little brother like crap. But back to the control thing, yes, I accept that from you. And I apologize for being controlling. But I didn't do it maliciously, or I didn't do it because I thought that that I feel like you just need to do what I say. It wasn't that way. It was like, I just really want you to move. I really want you to. And then in the industry you're trying to go into, man, your window is not that big, and time don't wait for nobody. You started doing this music thing seriously when you were like 16. You lose so much time, and you don't want to listen to any guidance. No, I'm not a musical producer genius or anything like that, but I know marketing. And he just didn't want to listen. He wanted to do things his way. My son now has like 4 projects out total, and there's nothing behind them pushing them, and they're good. It's good. And with each time he did a project, it got better. He's really good, but there's no momentum behind. There's no push. There's just not that fire. And I just don't understand it. So maybe it's not for me to understand. Maybe this is not what you're supposed to be doing, even though you're very talented in it. Maybe it's not. Maybe you do have to do it your own way. And maybe you'll just blow up to be this huge star. Maybe. But to punish me for trying to help push you in the right direction, man, and I'm telling you, I felt punished. I mean, I went through all kind of emotions, sadness, I mean, grief even, just crying. I've had a few anxiety attacks. And another thing, me having mental breakdowns in a happy home, dude, like, anybody who follows me knows that I say all the time that my anxiety, like, I suffer with anxiety. Like, everybody knows that about me. Like, that's not a secret. But me telling y'all, listen, y'all need to be quiet, my anxiety is high today, I can't. My nerves just bad. Sometimes I get real anxious and like I need a massage, and I need to just be calm and be quiet. So that's not what you call a mental breakdown, honey. For your education, that's not what you call that. When somebody has anxiety, sometimes, and you can't control it, sometimes you can think that everything is okay. You can even feel like everything's okay. Anxiety does its own thing. It could be something subconsciously, something you saw. It can be anything. It can be anything that can trigger that. But I know how to take care of myself, and that's me saying that, listen, I can't today. I can't. My anxiety is too high. Me taking space and time for myself is not a mental breakdown. That's me saying, leave me the fuck alone, because I'm not well right now. That's me standing up and protecting myself, which is, you can't punish me for that, dude. And you can't make me feel bad for that, because that's what I'm supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what anybody's supposed to do. When you've had enough, you have to say. But if you're coming from a place of healing, you have to base things in truth and fact, and not to try to inflict pain on somebody just because you're hurting. You have to find a way around that pain. And I'm trying to think of other things he said. Nick tries to avoid me because I'm miserable, and he took a job just on the road so he wouldn't have to be around me. That's a horrible thing to say. It's a horrible thing to say. But I mean, we know that's not true. Nick, actually, you were not home when Nick took that job. You were not living here. You were living in Slidell with your girlfriend. When Nick took that job, you know, truck drivers have reset time. Nick would drive all the way home for his reset time just to get up, just to be home and home with his family, and then drive all the way back to where he needs to go just to be home for a few hours. And guess what? The first job he took on the road, he lasted 2 weeks. That's what you didn't know. He lasted 2 weeks. But we were in the middle of the pandemic. His regular job there was no income. We were living off of savings and our investments. But he still wanted money to come in so we wouldn't use up too much of our savings. And then he was waiting for a job here in the city, close to home. And when that didn't happen right away, he was like, okay, I'm going to try this other job because they called me. I'm going to try to do that. He did that for not even a month, like three weeks. And I think he gave him a 2 weeks notice or whatever. So I think it was like 3 weeks or a little short of a month. And every time he had a turnaround period, he just came home for a few hours. He came home because Nick's not built to be away from his family. He adores his family, especially his babies. Especially Emerald being so young, he couldn't stand being away from her. And of course he missed me and Nico as well. But he was really, really concerned about Emerald. Really concerned, like, because when he would come home, she would just be, and then when he wasn't home, she asked for him over and over, daddy, daddy, and he couldn't take it. He's like, I can't do it. I'm talking to her on the phone, I just can't do it. This FaceTime shit ain't working for me, I just can't do it. And he came home until the other job called. And thank goodness that we're prepared for that. That he was able to make that decision to come home, you know. But that's just a man doing what he needs to do to take care of his family. Some people don't have a choice. Some people have family in the military they don't see for years, so they can take care of their family at home. That don't mean that they don't want to be around them. That means they're taking care of their family at home. People make sacrifices like that when they need to. Sweetie. And then he plays the video game too much. When? Years ago when he had, but this is my thing. This is my thing. Since I've had Emerald, our house is way too busy for Nick to even have time for that. And since none of the jobs worked out with him being offshore, even the job that was, out on the road, and even the job with him being here in the city he took, none of it worked out. So, you know, he's already running his own business. So trucking business, that's what he wanted to do anyway. So it just made him focus. But everything happens for a reason. Maybe all this stuff happened so he wouldn't have a job he was happy with, so he can just go ahead and just, which he had already started his business, but now he's actively running his business. And maybe that's the path that he needed to take. But to say that he was miserable, and that I'm miserable or he's miserable, I don't know, whatever. This house is full of love, full. I just don't get what will make you feel that you need to say things like, first of all, that aren't based in truth or fact. And let's just say he did play video games all day, all the time. Which Nick used to play video games, like all the time. Whenever he had free time, he was like, because that's his thing. But this man works his ass off. Do you understand me? He grinds, he's not white collar. This man busts his ass to make sure this family, I don't pay no bills in this house. Not one. I don't have to pay not one bill in this house. If he wanted to play that motherfucker till the sun came up, he's not hanging out on the street. He's not doing drugs. He's not beating on y'all. He's not beating on me. He's playing a game. What is wrong with him playing a game? If I don't have a problem with it, you shouldn't have a problem with it. Which at one point I did back when we first got together. I'm like, okay, the game kind of getting on my nerves. And the vibes may have heard that a few times. But he has this man, if that's his getaway and that's his way away from the world, leave that man alone. He is home with his family. He's a call away. Babe, Dad. It never stopped none of y'all from having y'all hand out. It sure ain't stopped me from having my hand out. Because when the game on, he be like, babe, just go get the wallet. And I like that. And if I say, babe, I need you for something. Now, if he's playing online, sometimes he's playing live. He can't come right away, babe. When this session is over, I'm coming. That's not an issue in our relationship like that. Which I can't even tell you the last time since Emmy's been born, because now he's doing too much. I haven't done laundry since Emmy was born. I don't even do the laundry for my business anymore. He's constantly moving. I'm a homebody. Nick does the errands. Nick goes, he does the Costco runs. I used to go with him before the pandemic, but for the whole pandemic time, he's made the groceries. And I might stop off at Whole Foods to get a few things, but that we need in the house, but every so often. But mostly he does that. Once I come home, I don't want to do much, but Emmy's up my tail. Like she's like, mommy, like that's my thing. And that's the way he wants it. He wants it that way. Because he had Nico primarily. And now that we have the girl, I have her primarily. Even though we're parents and we share her, primarily I'm her primary caregiver. Nick helps me do things with her because he takes care of a lot of the other things around the house that I no longer have to worry about. I don't have to wash a dish. Well, when Navaj left home, his dad was doing it, but his dad put the 12-year-old on the dishes. So now my son washes. I don't have to wash dishes. I take care of my daughter and I take care of the peppermint room. That's what I do. But wow, and to say that he's a loser, man, because he dropped out of he was a high school football star who didn't follow his dreams because he didn't take his career seriously. Navaj, you have no idea the life in the world that man comes from. You have no idea of his challenges, which is partially why he may not have understood you. You ever thought about he may not understand me just like you didn't understand him? He's from a whole different world. He's from the hood. He knows real struggle. I mean, this man has been through some things and suffered great loss. He lost his father when he was 4. He didn't have one. He couldn't have one. He was close with his father. So, you had your father. He's alive. He's here. And now he's home and doing great. Starting his own business. You ever thought for a second that maybe he needed to change on a deep level so he can just be a better person, a better man, and have a happier, more fulfilled life without the fear of the law? He's doing wonderful. I'm so proud of him. Have you ever stopped to look at it like that? Maybe do that. Your dad is an amazing person who loves you so much and would do anything and will still do anything for you. To say he's miserable and oh man, the things you said to him, I could have never imagined. The things you said to me, I could have never imagined. I just don't get it. But I do hope that you find healing. I do hope that this purge is for a good cause. I hope that it sparks something in you that pushes you towards happiness, to start really growing, because you say that you're evolving, and sometimes evolving can start off real ugly. Sometimes that process is real ugly and nasty. I get it, but I want that to be really what you're doing, really evolving, and not feeding yourself all these negative things that your dad didn't love you raising you. Navaj, ain't no man that I know can fake for 20 years. Well, since you were 6. Do the math. I'm not doing the math. I'm bad with numbers in my head. But ain't nobody faking for that long that they care about somebody. Nobody can't fake that long, baby. The real person will come out. But I tell you what, Nick has always told other young men around him, don't get involved with a woman with children. He has. I've heard him say it on the phone with somebody. Said, don't do it. He said, because every man can't handle that. He was like, I'm a different breed, and it was hard for me. He was like, but don't do that. Especially when you have a mama who's just like behind her baby, like, better not tell him nothing. You know, that's how I was in the beginning. Don't tell him nothing. And for you mamas who have a good man, let me tell y'all something. If you have a good man and that man's not harming that child, you know if somebody's harming that child. But if you have a good man who really cares, and you know that he's a good man, a good provider, he's good to your child, he's not harming that child, not abusing that child, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. I mean that from the bottom of my soul. Especially when it's a boy. Shut the fuck up. Because it's as bad as we think we can do it. We're not raising no man. We're not raising no man. We're not even equipped to do that shit. Yes, your child may do well. But the core of what it means to be a man, we cannot give that to them. As much as we want to give them everything, we are not equipped for that. That's why they have fathers. And although his biological father was missing in an aspect, he had another amazing guy to come and say, I'm ready for this challenge. I want to love this child. I want to take care of this child. So don't fight a good man away from your child, especially when it's a boy. Don't let them only have the benefits of the fun parts of that stepdaddy or even stepmama. If you have a good one, let them be a part of their lives fully. You can't say take care of him, clothe him, make sure he make it to school on time, buy his shoes and his school uniforms, but don't tell him shit. It don't work like that. They need the discipline to take out the trash, wash the dishes, clean your room. That's regular shit. That's just responsibility. Let him take his own bath. He cannot sleep in the bed with you anymore. Basic shit that I thought was going to be the end of the world, I swear. But I think I tried to overcompensate for his biological father not being around. So we do that too. We're like, oh shit, I gotta overdo everything. And that could be a part of my son's damage, that I overdid everything. And so when Nick came around, it felt like maybe I stopped overdoing things, and that's what he was kind of used to already. I started a pattern, and that Nick took that from him and started to try to make him more responsible. And that could be a part of his trauma, that he just didn't know how to accept that part. He just didn't know how to accept it. And he's 20, and that still hurts him. That was my bad. I'll take that. I should have let go and not let him see me fight so hard, like fight Nick about telling him anything. I didn't learn until later. I didn't get it until Navaj was damn near 16. Too late. Too late. So now my child is struggling because he feels wronged. And in all honesty, he's not wronged, but that's just how he feels. And his feelings are real to him. I don't know. If there's anything I forgot, y'all can comment. I said it would be a series of videos. This video was not supposed to be this long. I might chop it into 2. I don't know. But maybe I'll just post it and you guys watch a portion now and watch a portion later. I don't really care. This is really just my son did a purge, and this is my response to his purge, and we're purging together. And this is a part of my healing from the pain that, I mean, literally, y'all don't even know the agony that this little to-do has brought me through. I've done my fair share of crying and feeling like my heart is being pulled through my belly button, just gut-wrenching pain, like my baby's gone and my baby's in pain and he wants to see me in pain, and why, and I've done everything. So the next video I'm going to start with me being jealous of him and his girlfriend. Me and Nick are jealous of him and his girlfriend. Y'all, help me, y'all. Help me. Help me. This video was already way too long. Stay tuned for the next one. Bye.